File input and output is the process of reading and writing data to and from files on a computer file system. It is an essential operation in computer programming and used for various purposes such as storing data, logging, configurations, files, and more. Input files are used as a source of data for a program or system, while output files contains the result or output of the program or system after processing the input data. Output operations is ordered to print the output. Python provide us with a built-in function called print close and open parentheses. Example, print close and open parentheses to quotation hello Python, and the output is hello Python. The argument hello Python is a pass to the print close and open parentheses functions, which cause it to display hello Python on the console. So if you run the following code in Python, print close and open parentheses to quotation hello Python, the output you will see on the console will be hello Python. The print close and open parentheses function can take multiple arguments separated by commas. In the case, it will display each argument by a space by default. Input operations. Python provide us with two inbuilt functions to read the input from the keyboard. Row underscore input close and open parentheses and input close and open parentheses. Row underscore input close and open parentheses. This function reads only one line from the standard input and returns it has a string. Input close and open parentheses semicolon. This input close and open parentheses functions that first take the input from the user and then evaluate the expression, which means Python automatically identified whether we enter a string or number or list. So example is value equal row underscore input close and open parentheses to quotation please enter the value, and print close and open parentheses and to quotation input received from the user is value. The output is please enter the value hello Python, and the input received from the user is hello Python. The first line of code prompts the user to input a value by displaying the message please enter the value on the screen and wait for the user to provide an input. The user input is stored in the variable value. The second line of code prints the message input received from the user is along with the value entered by the user, with each concatenated the message using a comma. The output of this code will display the message and the value entered by the user on the screen. File input and output. What is file output? It's basically writing to file and reading from files. It's just not simple. We're going to talk about how to open file, talk about the different open mode, how to read the entire file, how to read a files line by line, and how to write the append to the files, and how to close files. So to start, we'll first need file to read and write from. So I created a file called animals text. Now we'll just add a couple animals, dog, cat, fish to open a file. So we're going to use the open function. So let open a files creating variable. I gonna use animals equals open and take to argument. The first argument it's take is the path to the file. So in my case, it in the same folder. So animals.txt. You'll be 5. The second argument is the mode for the file. So for this, I'm going use a plus, which is open for reading and appending. There's other mode as well, and I'm gonna just copy them. So there's several different mode. I'm gonna talk about 5 of the first one is R, which is for read, and that's by default. If you don't supply anything, is the second argument to open. It's going to open in reading. W is locate for that writing, but also the file, meaning if the file had any data in it, going to remove all that data. Our plus, it's open for reading and writing. With plus, it's open for reading and writing, but also truncate that files that and A plus is open for reading and appending. So everything you write will appear at the end of the file. Now, it's important to note that the animals variable does not contain the contents of animals. Text, all it contains is the file object for animal text. To actually read and write from the files, you have the call other methods in that object. If you want to just read the content from the files directly in variable, you should not just do the variable name. I just do text equal animals and then the methods you want to call, it's that read that will just into that files, and we can print that out just to test it here, and you can see it output all the contents from the files. If you want to read everything in animals text line by line, you can actually read the file object animals a lot and iterator. So in this case, I could do for animals in animals, so I just print out the animals. Will try that over here, and you can see it does not the exact same thing as reading everything. Now here the print a part where we have write to the files or append to the files, and the reason I separate those two, because if you open a files for writing, you gonna start writing to the files, and at the beginning everything should write going to be at the end of the files. Now that one note that is, if you read all the way to the end of the files and should write to it, it doesn't matter if you in a pen mode, because it's going to write to the end anyway at the point. So to write to the files, I'm gonna to add two more animals. So I'm gonna to type the name of the file object lat right. So I'll do two. I add elephant, and then you like them, I add say frog. Now where I add output, this I have to do it's twice. The first time it doesn't show anything because it didn't it output everything before it wrote it, but now if I do it again, you can see now I get my new two animals. And finally, the last piece is closing the file. It's very simple. Animals doc close, and we're done. That files input and output and the conclusion of the
Reading and writing binary file. Store data in binary format, which means that the data is represented in a sequence of zeros and ones. Binary file input or output involves opening a file for reading or writing in binary mode. Reading and writing in binary data from or to the file, and closing the file. In Python, the open close parenthesis function is also used to open a binary file, and the read and write functions are used to read and write binary data. So let's say we have a binary file. We can read it using the read close open method. First, we will open the binary file using the RB mode of the open method. We have the following source file in the drive. So for example, meron pa tayong nakikita dito na python logo.png. So for example is, meron po ditong code. So the output is the binary files are not humor-readable and content is unrecognizable. The actual output was bigger. So write to binary file. The WB mode of the open method is used to open a file in format form writing. Note, the binary files are not humor-readable and the content is unrecognizable. So let's see the complete example. For example is my demo binary.bin. So the output is, after running the file is visible in the set. So file handling mode. The process of file handling refers to how we store the available data or info in a file with the help of program. The C language stores all the data available in a program into a file with the help of the file handling in C. This data can be fetched or extracted from these files to work again in any program. So, for example po is sa Hello World na lang po. So, meron po tayong example dito. So, ito po. So, read mode used to read a file. So, write mode used to write data to a file. If the file already exists, it will be overwritten. If it does not exist, a new file will be created. So, kapag meron na daw po tayong file, makikita na po doon. Then if kung wala pa po is gagawa po tayo ng bago. So, the function opens the file pointed by pointer and read or write the file. In write mode, W is used, and in the read mode is R is used. When a file exists in the directory, it treats as a new empty file and override the content of file by new data. So, append mode used to add data to the end of an existing file. So, append mode adds information to an existing file, placing the pointer at the end. If a file does not exist, append mode creates the file. Note: the key difference between write and append mode is that append does not clear a file's contents. Add the sign or yung plus sign to include the read functionality. Exclusive mode used to create a new, it will raise an error if file already exists. So, exclusive mode allow if a program wants to get exclusive use of the audio device, it can get it if you check this option. Some audio drivers talk straight to the sound card bypassing the Windows audio engine. So, binary mode used to read or write binary data to a file. Binary mode deals with the data records, and these records can be in the form of a single byte or several bytes. Most often, structured objects are stored in binary mode and are stored sequentially. So, last text mode used to read or write text data to a file. Text mode is a mode of software program where only text is displayed. For example, a user may set their internet browser to only display text and no image.
Reading and writing text file. Text files contains plain text such as ASCII or Unicode characters. Text file I or O involves opening a file to reading or writing text data from or to the file, and closing the file. In Python, the open function is used to open text file, and the read and write functions are used to read and write text data. Reading from a file. Read returns the resources in form of a string, reads and bytes if no and specified reads. The enter file object read and. So here are reading from a file refers to the process of retrieving data stored in a file and loading into a computer program or script for further processing. This operation is commonly performed when working with text files, such as configurations, files, logs, files, or data files. Here are the following steps outline the general procedure for reading from a file. The first one is the opening file. First, you need to open the file you want to read in most programming languages. There are built-in functions or classes specifically designed for this purpose when opening a file. You usually provide the file's path or name as a parameter to the file opening function. The function returns a file handle or object that allows you to interact with the file. The second one is the reading file. Once the file is open, you can read its contents. There are different methods for reading file depending on the programming language or the level of control you need. Here are two common approaches: line by line reading and the reading the entire file. The line by line reading, this method reads the line by line, treating each line as a separate entity. It is useful when dealing with text files that has a distinct structure such as comma separated values, files or log files. The second one is the reading the entire file. In some cases, you may want to read the entire content of the file at once. This approach is suitable when working with smaller files or when you need to process the file as a whole. Functions like read or read lines allow you to retrieve the entire contents of the file as a single string or list lines respectively. The third one is the processing the file contents. After reading the file, you can process the retrieved data according to your program's requirements. These steps involves manipulating, parsing, or analyzing the data read from the file. For example, you might perform calculations, extract specific informations, or store the data in data structure. Lastly, closing the file. Once you have finished reading and processing the file, it is important to close it. Closing the file releasing system resources and ensures that any changes made to the file are safe. Writing to a file inserts the string str1 in a single line in the text file. File object write str.
CSV file, comma separated values. It is a simple file format used to store tabular data such as spreadsheet or database. In CSV file, each line represents a row data and each field within that row is separated by a comma. So, ito yung example ng CSV file. So, dito sa first, ito yung header niya. So, ito yung employee ID, first name, last name, position, salary. So sa first row is naglalaman ito ng information ng isang empleyado. So tulad ng sa employee 1D, number 1 is yung first name is yung si Juan. Then yung last name niya is De La Cruz and yung position niya is manager and yung kanyang salary is 50,000. So ang CSV file format ay pwedeng i-import sa iba't ibang application tulad ng Microsoft and Excel o mga database system. So, next na slide is, ayan yung mga example ng CSV file. So, dito tayo sa next. Sa JSON file. JavaScript Object Notation is a lightweight data interchange format that is easy for humans to read and write and easy for machines to parse and generate. It is a text-based format and its file extension is typically a JSON file contains data structured in key-value pairs where each key is a string enclosed in double quotes and each value can be a string number, boolean, array, or another JSON object. So, ito ang example ng JSON file. So, meron tayong 4 na key value dito. Key value pairs. ang employee ay isang object rin na naglalaman ng mga key value pairs na naglalarawan ng impormasyon tungkol sa empleyado tulad ng pangalan, position, edad, at mga kasanayan. Ang skills naman ay isang array na naglalaman ng mga kasanayang itinuturing na taglay ng empleyado. So, ang JSON ay madalas na ginagamit sa pagpapalitan ng data sa pagitan ng mga serbisyo at mga sistema dahil sa kanyang simpleng format at interoperabilidad sa iba't ibang programming language. Ito pa ang ibang example ng JSON file.